And joining us now on our Book Talk segment on Talk Across America, great to welcome a woman who's written a really interesting book about a very popular show. It's Bachelor Nation, Inside the World of America's Favorite Guilty Pleasure. We're joined today by Amy Kaufman. She's a staff writer for the LA Times. She covers film, celebrity, pop culture. Been doing that for about 9 years now, and she joined us on the telephone. Amy, good to talk with you. How are you?
Good. How are you?
I'm doing great. Good to have a chance to chat with you for a couple of minutes. I remember when the show first came on. I didn't realize it's been on as long as it has now. I guess, for 16 years now. I guess they chop it up into half seasons, but I didn't realize that. But I remember watching some of the early ones, but I haven't really kept up with it, so I enjoyed reading the book to get some of the behind the scenes. It's unbelievable what goes on in that show.
Yeah, I know. And it is crazy that it's been on since 2002. You're like, I feel like I was very young when this started, and yet we're all still watching.
Yeah, they call it 36 seasons. TV's half seasons now, so they do, 12 or 13, whatever, and then they call that a full season. But now you got involved with this how long ago in researching this? I know you were on the set for a while. You have a story in the book about how they told you to leave, right?
Yeah, so they basically, I wrote about the show for the LA Times, and as part of that, I would go to different tapings, like of the Men Tell All or, reunion things and interview contestants. And after a while, I stopped getting invited. And so my editor reached out and said, what's going on with this? And they said, Amy's coverage is too negative, and so she is no longer invited to anything. And that kind of backfired for them because it made me question, what they were hiding, why they were so sensitive, and I eventually ended up writing a book about the show.
Yeah, and again, this is considered what they call a reality show, though. From from reading the details, not much of it is actually a total reality. A lot of scripted things, if you want to call it scripted. The producers almost badgering some of the contestants, right? To act a certain way or say certain things. It's not an easy situation that they're in. The contestants I'm talking about.
Right. Yeah. It's not scripted, but it is definitely produced. So, you'll be in situations where producers will say to you, everyone else here has said I love you to the Bachelorette. Like, where are your feelings at? And you're like, well, I don't know. I don't know if I'm there yet. And they're like, well, I really think you should tell her, because if you don't, you might get voted off. And, your lack of emotional openness is what ruined your last relationship, things like that. So they really steer you down a specific road.
Well, I guess there's a term for those those interviews that they do, and now all reality shows do them. I don't know if Bachelor was first, but they must have been one of the first to do the little individual interviews they intercut into the show, and that's where you think they're telling exactly what's going on, but a lot of times those interviews were coached, right?
Right. Yeah, those are called ITMs.
ITM, that's interviews. I forgot the term.
Yeah, ITMs, and that's what we're talking about. Yeah, where you sit down, you're one-on-one with the producer, and they're asking you these questions, and a lot of times those interviews happen at the end of a long day. You're tired, maybe you've been drinking, you just want to leave, and so after a while of being asked the same thing over and over again, a million different ways, sometimes you just give in and give the producer the soundbite they're looking for.
And then it's how they edit it to make it look maybe a little bit different than it was. I know you talk, again, the dates that they go on. It may have been a great date, and they edited it to make it look like it was an awkward date, or maybe vice versa, right? So you're not exactly sure if what you're seeing is actually what happened.
Exactly, yeah. Editors told me that it would be very easy to make a really good date look bad by just, for example, having the Bachelor say something and then, having 10 seconds even of silence, making it appear really uncomfortable.
The awkward pause.
To totally. Right, totally, yeah.
I think every other show has copied that. I don't know if they originated that, but every other show has copied that, the long pause or the awkward look they edit in. So it does create a different atmosphere of what you think you're seeing, doesn't it? It's effective, whether you like it or not, it's effective.
It is, yeah. I mean, and that's a whole other element that I think, we're all pretty savvy now as viewers, has added in, as a new added thing when we're watching. It's like, well, okay, they're leading us to believe she picks this guy, but I know she's really going to pick this guy because they're emphasizing it so hard. It's like you're questioning every piece of editing to see what the real narrative is.
Now, when you started this project, I guess you were a fan of the show, right, when it first came on, or were you? Maybe you weren't. I don't know.
No, I was, and I honestly still am. Even though I know all this gnarly stuff about the show, fundamentally, I still enjoy watching it and have my friends over every Monday, and it's like a fun tradition for us.
Yeah, it is entertaining. I mean, again, I haven't seen it recently. I remember seeing some of the early ones, but it's like a soap opera in a sense. People watch soap operas for the same thing, the romance part of it. So it has that factor to it, right?
Right, yeah, and a lot of women grew up being read fairy tales, watching Disney movies and romantic comedies, and told that like we should aspire to have this Prince Charming type of man who's going to sweep us off our feet, and that's totally the type of narrative that The Bachelor traffics in, and so it sort of makes you believe that story you've been told all your life is possible, even though usually it's not.
Yeah, right. Oh, you got to keep hoping.
Yes, hope against hope.
But again, and when you went into researching the show, doing the actual writing about it, anything? I know we talked some of the things behind the scenes that may be a little less than honest at times. But anything that kind of surprised you other than that as you dove into this project?
One of the things that I found particularly surprising was just how isolated the contestants were. That, they don't have phones, television, internet, music, books. They aren't like wandering the streets when they go to some exotic location. They're trapped in a hotel room with a bunch of other people that they barely know who are all competing for the same man or woman. And then all the producers are there telling you how great this man or woman is. Just, understanding that environment and how foreign it is to the daily routines of most people gave me a better sense of why people act so crazy on the show.
Yeah. How long, for a season of episodes, I guess 13, 15, whatever it is, how long do they actually, are they all together, the contestants and all that? Does it take 16 weeks or whatever it is, or is it condensed?
No, it takes, if you made it to the end, you would be there for 8 weeks.
8 weeks total, okay. So it's not the full
short
length. Yeah, I know they can edit it and stretch things out. I wondered how long it took. How about I know you have a chapter in the book too about kind of the aftermath. How many of the couples that got together? Do you have any statistics whether they're still together? How many marriages? How many ended right after the show? What's the breakdown of that?
Not surprisingly, it's a very low percentage of how many are together. I think it's about 4 marriages now. There are a lot of engaged couples still, and for whatever reason, they tend to be bachelorettes who are in the longer-lasting relationships. I don't know if the women are asking different kind of questions than the men are. But yeah, The Bachelor in general doesn't have a great track record, and they always like to say, well, okay, the divorce rate in America is 50%. No one has a great track record, which I guess is true.
Right. The Bachelorette, obviously, they came up with that after a few seasons of just the man picking the women, and it switched over. Is the Bachelorette version more popular, or is it about equal interest from the viewers? Or do women like watching the men choose, or do women like watching the women choose?
The women like watching the men choose, apparently, because The Bachelor is the most popular in the franchise of all the spinoffs. So The Bachelorette is not quite as popular, even though I enjoy it probably more than The Bachelor.
I just wondered because women can kind of live vicariously through The Bachelorette with her choices, but then again, the fantasy of it is The Bachelor. You can kind of live through. Well, hope he picks somebody like me, right? I mean, that's the fantasy aspect of the show, right?
That is every woman's fantasy. Yes.
Well, it's a fascinating book. Again, you get into the behind the scene, and again, we're not saying that show is the only one that has producers that kind of scripted. I mean, that's the way of reality TV.
Right.
But it's very successful. You can't knock it. It's been on, like we said, since 2002, and no sign of it losing popularity. Right? So the ratings are pretty good.
Yeah, I mean, of course, the ratings have gone down significantly since it began, but that's also because there's a lot more television options for people to watch than there were in 2002. But yeah, it's still pulling in 5 or 6 million viewers a week. Yeah,
that's pretty good. Bachelor Nation, Inside the World of America's Favorite Guilty Pleasure is the full title of the book, and we've been talking with Amy Kaufman today. And Amy, give out a website if you have one. People get more information on the book.
People can reach me on Twitter at AmyKNLA, and I will try to answer any Bachelor questions you have.
Great. Amy, pleasure talking to you. Hopefully we can do it again. Thanks for being with us.
Thanks so much.